Hi everyone, happy Friday. So this is Read Aloud number 10, and last time on Read Aloud number 9, we left off on page 76. And a little recap, so Albie was being babysat by his babysitter Callista, and Albie didn't want to go to bed. He was watching TV, and Callista finally came up with the idea that they should people watch outside of Albie's window, and so they changed the channel virtually and watch different things going on around the city. I think he lives in a pretty big apartment, so lots of other stuff going on outside. And I think we can come to the conclusion that Albie really likes Callista, and she has some really good ideas on what to do, and I think they have a lot of fun together. All right, so we're starting up on page 77. The chapter is called Johnny Treeface. Albie. When I looked up, Callista was holding my reading log from school. The way she'd said my name wasn't happy, more like the disappointed way of saying Albie. I think I like that way. I think I like that way to say my name the least out of any of them. What? I asked, like I didn't know what she was about to say next, even though I'm pretty sure I did. Why is your reading log empty this week? Which, yep, was pretty much exactly what I thought she was going to say. You told me you were reading at bedtime. Did you forget to mark it down? I didn't even look at the paper. I already knew what was on there. Pretty much nothing. That's what was on there. Same as last week's. All blank except at the top where Mrs. Rouse had written, "What happened to all your great reading?" Albie, Callista said slowly, which I guess was supposed to make me want to start talking, but it didn't. What's going on? Did you run out of Captain Underpants already? Should we go to the library again? I shook my head. Captain Underpants is for babies, I said at last. Callista raised an eyebrow at that. I thought you liked Captain Underpants, she said. I didn't answer. And last I checked, she went on, you're not a baby, or she tapped her chin. Wait, did you start wearing diapers? Without telling me? She stuck her nose down the seat next to the chair I was sitting in and pretended to take a big sniff. Do you need to be changed, Albie? I scooched my chair away from Callista's nose. Dad was right. The girl was off her rocker. I'm not wearing a diaper, I told her. So you're definitely not a baby then, she said, like she was thinking things through. And you do like Captain Underpants, she tapped her chin again. So one can only logically conclude that Captain Underpants is not for babies. I sighed and reached for my backpack. Mom wants me to read this book, I said, pulling out the stupid, large, boring book she'd given me. But I tried, and the words don't make any sense. Ah, Callista said. She took the book and turned it over to look at the back. After a minute of reading, she said, This looks awful. It is, I told her. Callista thought. Well, I buried my face on the table. I could tell she was thinking because when she was done, she said, Would your mom know if you didn't read this book? Why can't you go back to reading Captain Underpants? At least you like those books. That surprised me when Callista said that because it sounded like she was saying I should be sneaky and not tell my mom about Captain Underpants, which is what I wanted to do anyway, but I was surprised about a grown-up saying it. Grown-ups weren't supposed to be sneaky. She'd see it in my reading log, I said, and then she'd be mad all over again. I pressed my face harder into the table. Mrs. Rouse was getting mad about the reading log, so I knew that I had to start reading something. But if I tried to read Johnny Treeface again, it would probably kill me, and I definitely didn't want to be dead from a book. I didn't know what to do. It'll be all right, Albie, Callista said. We'll figure out something. Now, why don't you go watch some TV? But my 15 minutes were already up. I was pretty sure Callista knew that, but because she'd set the timer on the microwave herself. Albie? Callista said. Her voice was very serious. I insist that you watch 15 more minutes of television right this very second, unless, she tapped her chin again, did I hear you say you wanted to clean the toilet? TV, I said, laughing. I picked TV, and I raced for the couch before Callista could realize she was off the rocker again. As soon as the timer on the microwave went off, Callista walked into the living room. I snapped off the TV. Callista was holding something behind her back, and I could tell she was up to something. I just couldn't tell what it was. What's that? I asked, trying to peek. Callista didn't answer. You know, she said, I started reading Johnny Tremaine, and it Turns out it actually isn't so awful. Maybe you should just try it again. I wrinkled my nose. Is that what she was being sneaky about? No thanks, I said. All right, she said with a shrug. It's up to you, but I think you might want to give it a shot. It looks like there are cartoons in it. And she tossed me the book to me on the couch and went back to the kitchen. My head shut up. Cartoons? How come I didn't notice before that Johnny Treeface had cartoons in it? I turned to look at the book on the couch. It wasn't Johnny Treeface. It was Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopy Pants. The same one I'd been reading before, only Callista had made a new title for it with construction paper and markers and taped it to the front. Johnny Tremaine by Esther Forbes. That's what it said on the front. Callista, I called into the kitchen. I was staring at the book. How come? After you're done reading, she called back, be sure you spell the title right in your reading log. Okay, Albie? Johnny Tremaine. Just the one E. I looked down at the book. Johnny Tremaine. That's what it said. I smiled. Then I opened the book and started to read. Alright, the next chapter is called Being Where You've Been. Normally we didn't have quizzes in math club because it was a club, not a class. But on Monday we had one. Mr. Clifton called it a whiz quiz to try to trick us into thinking it might be more fun than a regular quiz. I bet, but I was not tricked at all. It was all about multiplication and got almost all the answers wrong. After math club was over, I stayed behind to tell Mr. Clifton something when nobody else was in the room. I don't think I should be in math club anymore, I told him. Mr. Clifton set down the stack of papers he was holding. Albie, he said, like my name was a question, why would you want to drop out? I scuffed my foot along the carpet. I'm not very good at math. I think I scuffed my foot some more harder. I don't think I should do math anymore. Albie. That time, my name was not a question. Mr. Clifton didn't say anything after that, and I figured maybe he was waiting for me to look at him instead of my shoes, so I finally did. Even though my shoes were more interesting. I want to show you something. That's what he said. Mr. Clifton walked around behind his desk and pointed to something on the wall, a small blue piece of paper in a square black frame. I followed him so I could look at it more closely. I stood on my tiptoes and snuck my nose right close to the glass. It was a report card. And it said, name, Daniel Clifton, grade 4th, scores, science A, social studies B, art A, reading A, math F. That's yours? I asked, settling down from my tiptoes. Yep, Mr. Clifton said. Mr. Clifton, I told him very seriously, you should probably take that down because otherwise someone might find out that you got an F in math. Mr. Clifton just laughed at that. A real gawful. I kept it there on purpose, he said. My eyes went wide. You did? That sounded crazy to me. Because why would anyone ever want to hang up an F report card in a frame and everything? The worst report card I've ever gotten from Mountainford Prep had 3 U's for unsatisfactory, and I threw that one down the garbage chute, and I definitely didn't frame it. You can't get where you're going without being where you've been. That's what Mr. Clifton said while I was still staring at his F report card. Huh? What's that? I said. My grandmother always used to tell me that, Mr. Clifton explained, when I was a boy. Oh, I said. I wonder if Mr. Clifton's grandmother ever saw that F report card. When I was a kid, Mr. Clifton said, I hated math. I absolutely hated it because I was so bad at it and because I thought it didn't make any sense. I nodded at that because it was true. Math didn't make any sense. So that's why I decided to become a math teacher. I stopped nodding when Mr. Clifton said that part because that was a thing that didn't make any sense. What? I said, why? He shrugged. I figured if math didn't make any sense to me, it probably didn't make any sense to lots of other people. So I promised myself that if I ever did figure it out, I'd become a math teacher so I could help other people who had trouble just like me. He reached up and straightened the report card in its frame so it was exactly even to the ground. It took a lot of hard work, but I'm very glad every day that I made that decision and didn't end up with some super easy profession, like being a neurosurgeon. I just stared at him because I knew that Mr. Clifton liked to tell bad jokes, but this time I couldn't tell if he was joking. Who would actually want to be a math teacher? So I can't drop out of math club then? I asked. Not even a little, Mr. Clifton told me. Alright, we're going to stop there. We're on page 86, and the next chapter is Stacking Cups.